Did you know that in 2025, the global welcome mat for Americans is being pulled back? Countries that once rolled out the red carpet are now reinstating visas, demanding extra paperwork, and, in some cases, quietly turning travelers away. And these aren't remote corners of the world. They're major destinations, from sunny retiree havens to cultural hotspots. This isn't just about longer lines at immigration. It's a quiet but undeniable shift in how the world treats U.S. passport holders, and it's already impacting everyday travelers. Stay until number 5, where one popular country isn't just making it harder. They're enforcing rules that are catching even longtime visitors off guard. But before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe. Because this isn't just a travel update, it's a reality check for anyone who still believes the American passport guarantees a warm welcome. Number 1. Brazil. In 2025, Brazil reinstated visa requirements for American travelers, and the impact is bigger than most expected. For over a decade, U.S. citizens enjoyed visa-free access to Brazil. That changed on April 10th. Now, Americans must apply ahead of time, pay a fee, and wait for approval before setting foot in the country. Officially, the move is about reciprocity, a mirror held up to U.S. visa policy for Brazilians. But beneath the surface, it's more than that. In cities like São Paulo and Brasília, many Brazilians view this change as long overdue. They've watched for years as Americans passed freely through customs, while their own applications were held up abroad. Now, they say, the rules feel more equal, and the balance more fair. Maybe it's fair, maybe it's frustration. But for the first time in decades, Americans are being treated not as VIPs, but just as visitors. Tour companies and airlines have already seen a surge in confusion. Some travelers arrived at airports unaware of the new requirement. Others canceled trips altogether after learning what was involved. Brazil isn't turning Americans away, but it's no longer making it easy for them either. Some say these changes are overdue, others call it political payback. What do you think? Whatever the reason, it's only the beginning. Number 2, Spain. Spain has long been a favorite for Americans heading to Europe. The architecture, the food, the coastlines, all wrapped in an easygoing, sun-drenched experience. And for a while, it felt like everyone was welcome. But in 2025, the welcome is starting to feel conditional. It's not about tourist visas. Most Americans can still enter without one. But if you plan to stay longer, work remotely, or relocate, the tone is changing fast. Here's what's new. Rejections for the non-lucrative visa, the one Americans rely on to retire or live abroad, surged 40% last year. And 2025's leaked rules reveal the toughest shift yet. Proof of €60,000 in savings, nearly double the current threshold. This isn't a guess. It's from Spain's own immigration data. For longtime expats and new applicants alike, the backlog isn't just paperwork. It's a wall. In cities like Valencia and Barcelona, local media have covered protests about rent spikes and housing shortages. The anger isn't aimed directly at Americans, but the term extranjeros ricos, wealthy foreigners, is showing up more often. Spain is still beautiful, still friendly, but that friendliness now comes with more questions, more paperwork, and more quiet resentment. For Americans who thought Europe would always offer a soft landing, this is the year that assumption gets tested. And if Spain is shifting the tone, the next country is stamping it in policy. Number 3, South Korea. In 2025, South Korea didn't slam the door on Americans, but they did install a lock. The KETA system is now mandatory. You can't just show up with a passport anymore. You need pre-approval through an electronic screening process that decides whether you can even board the plane. But this isn't just about paperwork. It's about posture. Since KETA launched, over 22,000 U.S. applicants were denied KETA approval, sometimes over a blurry passport photo or missing hotel booking. South Korea is shifting from hospitality to hesitation. The red carpet is still there, but only if you've been pre-cleared to walk on it. Travelers without KETA have been denied boarding. Others report long delays or unexplained rejections that show up weeks later. It's not personal, but it feels deliberate. And beneath it all is something deeper. a sense that South Korea is becoming more selective. Not because of crime, not because of conflict, but because it can. To many locals, it's not anti-American. It's pro-boundary, a way to protect culture, resources, and identity in a world that feels increasingly exposed. For Americans, it's a change that's easy to miss, until the door quietly stops opening. And if South Korea is asking for paperwork, the next country is quietly asking whether you still belong. Number 4, Japan. Japan has long been one of the most respected destinations for American travelers. Clean, safe, and deeply rooted in a culture of quiet respect, it offered a sense of order few places could match. But in 2025, that quiet hospitality feels quieter than usual. There's no official ban, no sweeping change, but more Americans are reporting something subtle: longer waits at immigration, more questions, and in rare cases, being turned away, even with valid paperwork. Japanese immigration attorneys have noted a rise in rejections for visitors with vague itineraries or frequent entries, especially since mid-2024. It's not widespread, but it's enough that travel forums and agencies are noticing. And in late 2024, an American tourist was arrested in Tokyo for spray painting a shrine gate, an incident that made national headlines and sparked public concern over cultural disrespect from foreign travelers. Japan has always been protective of its identity, but with rising tourism and growing pressure on local communities, that protectiveness now feels more personal. Locals haven't turned hostile, but the warmth has faded. Americans who once felt like honored guests now feel more like outsiders. Japan isn't changing the rules, but it is changing the welcome. That step back might be quiet, but the next country draws a line in public. Number 5, Indonesia. For years, Bali was a dream for Americans chasing sunshine, freedom, and affordable living. It was more than a destination. It was a lifestyle. One where visas felt like a formality, and no one asked too many questions. But that's changed. In 2025, Indonesian authorities have cracked down hard on foreign visitors, especially digital nomads and long-stay travelers who overstayed their welcome. And Americans are often at the center of it. Here's the reality. Bali deported 211 Americans in just the first 3 months of 2024, many for overstaying tourist visas by only a few weeks. And in 2025, officials are now tracking digital nomads through Instagram Reels and TikTok workation posts. One wrong hashtag, and you could be on the next flight out. You won't hear the word Americans in official briefings. But when deportation lists go viral, the pattern is hard to ignore. Locals aren't against tourists, but they are against entitlement, rising rent, disrespect, loud behavior, people treating the island like it's theirs. Indonesia still wants visitors, but now it's setting boundaries. And if you cross them, even accidentally, the consequences come fast. There are no warnings anymore, just headlines, exit stamps, and a flight out you didn't plan for. And the next country? Their scrutiny starts before you even land. Number 6, Turkey. Turkey has always been a crossroads, between East and West, tradition and modernity. And for years, Americans visiting Istanbul or the southern coast found a country that was affordable, welcoming, and rich in history. But in 2025, it's clear the mood is shifting. It's not about tourist visas. Americans can still enter. But once you're inside, it feels different. More checkpoints, more questions, and a growing sense that what you say and post might matter more than you think. Human rights groups and travel forums have documented cases where travelers, including some Americans, were flagged or detained over online content. Not formally banned, but questioned. In Turkey, that kind of attention sticks. The government's tone has also hardened. Officials have spoken out more openly about foreign influence, Western criticism, and the need to preserve national stability. It's not targeted messaging, but Americans tend to feel the impact. Turkey isn't closing its borders, but it is tightening its grip. And for travelers used to flying under the radar, that's becoming harder to do. Because if Turkey is watching your words, the next country is watching your identity. Number 7, Argentina. Argentina used to be one of South America's easiest countries for Americans to visit. Affordable, vibrant, and culturally rich, with a visa-free policy that made spontaneous travel simple. But that changed in 2025. This year, Argentina officially reinstated visa requirements for American citizens, ending over a decade of open access. The reason? Reciprocity. The U.S. still requires visas for Argentine travelers, and now Argentina is doing the same in return. But underneath the official explanation, there's a growing shift in attitude. Inflation, economic pressure, and rising anti-Western sentiment have created a more cautious environment. While the people remain warm and generous, government rhetoric has grown sharper. Foreigners, especially those seen as wealthy or disconnected from local realities, are being met with more regulation and less patience. Travelers who once breezed through immigration are now waiting in longer lines, submitting more paperwork, and facing unexpected delays. It's not an attack, but it is a clear reset. Argentina still welcomes visitors, but it's not doing Americans any favors anymore. That era, quietly and without ceremony, is ending. And for Americans used to seamless travel, Argentina's new rules are a reminder. The era of automatic welcomes is over. This isn't just about visas. It's about something deeper, a shift in how the world sees Americans. For decades, a U.S. passport meant access, privilege, trust. But in 2025, that trust is fading. One quiet policy at a time. Some countries are changing the rules, others are changing the tone. But together, they're asking a new question. Is the welcome still worth it? If you're planning to travel, don't just bring paperwork. Bring awareness, because the world may no longer treat you the way it used to. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see where Americans are still welcome with open arms, that video's coming next. Subscribe, stay informed, and wherever you go, travel with respect.